With its attractive pricing, the ZTE Blade V40s is probably a device that's piqued interest. Designed as a value-focused smartphone, you'll pretty much know what to expect with a couple of quirks here and there.
As with any device, there are pros, there are cons, and there are things that are kind of okay, things that you can maybe let pass, and that's what we'll be talking about today with the ZTE Blade V40s.
Let's start with the good. These days, a large display for most is a must. With our phones practically driving our days, a spacious screen lets us do what we need to do more comfortably. Whether it's scrolling through the gallery to pick out that next social media post or when it's time to cozy down to a nice show, the large display on the Blade V40s is definitely one of its pros. And I have yet to mention it is Amoled, meaning you get nice deep blacks and vibrant colors. Resolution is decent, and if you're watching solo, images will still be sharp and detailed. Interestingly, compared to its siblings in the same lineup, only the Blade V40s is equipped with this AMOLED display, giving it an edge over the others. Its build and design is also something worth talking about. For an entry-level device, we do have a pretty posh-looking smartphone here, complete with flat panels and a split finish back. The plastic body is really lightweight and has a great in-hand feel despite its large size. The circular camera modules even have a nice gold trim around them, adding a sophisticated touch.
I've even gotten a few surprise looks when I told people how much this phone costs. I guess that already says a lot about its looks, and of course, that doesn't fail to invite a couple of follow-up questions about what it can do.
And since I already brought it up, let's get right into that question. What can this phone do? As expected of its price and segment, this is not a phone for heavy gaming or resource-heavy tasks. Though some games are very playable, don't expect lagless performance from titles like Genshin Impact. But what this phone is able to do well, however, are the everyday tasks we all go through. Facebook, Instagram, and other social media platforms were all and well with this device. Editing photos, layouting on Canva, and taking care of tap and type tasks were also easily accomplished. What I love about this phone is that if you do need that extra push, you can borrow from the device's generous storage to act as virtual RAM. Offering up to 5 GB more, you can get that extra power when multitasking becomes a little bit too heavy. And one of the best reasons to probably get this phone is its battery life. Like the workhorse that it is, it was able to keep up with my day, which included a lot of browsing, messaging, and social media, and it was still able to last up to the next morning.
With phones or devices in this segment, you're bound to run into some compromise, and with the Blade V40s, there isn't much to complain about, but I did notice some undesirables, if you will.
First is probably its lack of protection anywhere. It doesn't have water or dust resistance, nor does it have scratch protection either, which means you'll have to be extra careful if you don't want to nick your phone early on. When you're working for long, the phone also tends to heat up, but that isn't the problem. It's not uncomfortable. Rather, the heat seems to cause some slowdown, which in turn slows me down too. But often a quick reboot or rest solves this problem.
One final complaint, if you can even call it a complaint, it's more of an observation really, is that the Blade V40s is a little bit forgettable. It does have a nice design and features that stand out, but in a market that's so saturated, it's just a little bit hard to remember if not for that ring light that you have on here.
We've gone through good, we've gone through some bad, so now what are the things that are just okay? Let's start with the cameras. What makes the cameras just okay is the fact that only the main 50-megapixel shooter is of value. When using this lens, you can get clear and crisp photos and a good balance of color. In really bright light, photos end up looking even better with more details and saturation. And if you can keep still, it can also get pretty sharp low light shots too. The selfie camera, like the rest, favors bright light to get the sharpest details and best color too. Still talking about this camera, but this time about the design. At first glance, you probably wouldn't notice, but this camera module actually glows.
I'll admit, I was pretty excited when I saw this feature on this phone, but the novelty does wear off kind of quickly just because you really can't do much with it.
So what can it do? Well, you can assign a color to a contact for notifications, which is pretty useful. You can also allow it to sync to music playing on the phone, and it also glows when you charge. Apart from those, however, it doesn't really do much except look cool. Finally, we have again its battery. Yes, we mentioned it earlier, but we're talking about charging time now. With the included 22.5 watt charger, the Blade V40s needed over an hour to fully recharge. This is common among phones in this price range, but with how charging speeds are evolving, it would be nice to see an improvement in this area.
Again, as with anything, be it a phone, TV, a car, or even food, there's the good, there's the bad, and there are things that are just okay. What matters most is what you're looking for, and if the Blade V40s's long battery life, Amoled display, all-around great performance sound good to you, then maybe it's something worth looking at.